G'day guys, Elvin Pal here from Adventuring Pals, and this is a 60,000 kilometer review on my Mitsubishi Triton MR GLS. So just before we get started, I just want to let you know this is not a sponsored video or anything like that. This is my experience from owning, paying for this car and using it for the last 60,000 kilometers. Also, this is not a modified episode or anything like that. I'm just going to be telling you what the original car performs and about the car itself rather than the modifications I've made to it. I am going to break the video down into some chapters, so if you don't want to watch the whole video, you can scroll through, check out the bits of the video you want. The chapters that I'm going to be covering in this video are, firstly, a quick background on how we've used the vehicle for the last 60,000 kilometers, what it's like to use in a day-to-day environment, what it's like for a bit of on-road performance, also what it's like for off-road performance, what it's like to tow when we've been towing a 2.2 ton ATM caravan. We're going to cover a little bit about the fuel economy, both towing and not towing. I'm going to talk about a couple of genuine accessories that I had fitted and talk about if I would get them again and how they've been performing. We're going to touch base on a couple of problems that I've had or you may have. Just going to cover slightly about what I think Mitsubishi should do to the next model to make improvements on it. And of course finish it off with, would I buy another one? So if you want to know that, stick around and watch the video. Okay guys, so for the last 60,000 kilometers, this ute has been serving our family as a tow vehicle and to help us explore around Australia. Yes, we've been using this ute to do a big lap around Australia. This thing has literally taken us all the way around Australia across so many varying terrains, including snow, sand, rock, mud, and thousands upon thousands of kilometers of corrugations. So after all that, what do I think about it? Well, for day-to-day use, it really is quite easy. I don't even have to take my keys out of my pocket. With keyless entry and push button to start, it makes it so much easier, especially when you're juggling kids and groceries and all the other stuff that comes along with life. Everything inside is laid out nicely and it just works. The button controls on your steering wheel, it's got the nice air vent there for the kids to keep them cool. It's one of the only utes that I have a roof fan there to recycle the air conditioning around the cabin. Makes a big difference in the back seat. It's got the Apple CarPlay with the voice control, so that you change albums or CDs or radio stations. Even to navigate, it's got a hold a button and talk to it, which to be honest, I wasn't really a big fan of at the start. Finding I'm using it a lot more than I had ever planned to. All in all, it really is a nice, comfortable place to be inside. A hell of a lot better than my previous utes. At the start, I had a little bit of connectivity problems with the Apple CarPlay, but I found using a genuine Apple cable and also having it plugged in before I turn the car on has made a big difference, and now it pretty much starts up and works every time. As far as on-road performance goes, there is nothing to complain about. It has got really good handling, good steering, good light steering. You don't feel, even with the bigger tires and the all-terrain tires, you don't really feel like you're driving around in a truck. It's more car-like handling than my previous use, which is nice, especially for the missus to drive. It's got smooth gear changes with a 6-speed automatic transmission, a lot better than the last 4-speed I had. And like with most modern cars, it's got plenty of sensors that keep track of everything that's going around, like lane departure warning, forward collision mitigation, all that stuff. I kind of thought it was just a bit of a gimmick. I wouldn't really care for it, but to be honest, it just integrates with the driving experience and you don't even really notice it's there. Onto off-road performance. I'm not a wheeling just for the sake of wheeling kind of guy anymore like I was when I was younger. Nowadays, I take a track if it's going to get me somewhere nice for fish or for campground or something like that, or just a day trip for the family. But even then, I am finding I'm using this thing off-road a lot more than I had planned. But in every sort of terrain that I've taken it has given me exactly what I asked of it. If I point it up the track and give it the right speed, it'll get me there. Haven't really been bogged. Oh yeah, except for that one time when I got stuck in a huge puddle and had a few inches of water in the cabin. But that was more of a clearance issue than traction.
Okay, Yeah, we're stuck.
It does have a terrain selection mode, which I'm finding I'm using a lot more than I had thought I would. But I do usually find myself leaving it in gravel mode, even in sand, except for when I get to soft sand, and then I put it in the sand mode, and I find that it just holds the revs in gear a lot more, just to get you through that little soft stuff. When it comes to towing, this ute is really good. A lot better compared to my last one, which was the MN Triton. In the MN I had exhaust and chip and tune and all that stuff, and this thing is straight out of the box with no engine modifications, outperforms that thing every day. Now our caravan is 2.2 ton ATM, and I am loaded up with all the stuff we need to travel around Australia, and my rear axle is pretty much on its weight limit, and with all that weight on the rear axle, the standard springs just were not cutting it out. So I've put in some Outback Armour constant 400 kilo springs, but that's a topic to discuss for another video. I find that it's got plenty of power to tow anywhere we go, up hills, on the sand, on the dirt, and with the 6-speed auto gearbox, it just does it so easily. Moving on to fuel economy, and this thing is better than my last ute, not surprisingly, with the 6-speed auto gearbox and being a much newer ute. What I'm towing, I'm getting between 14 to 20 litres per kilometre, and it depends a lot on wind and how fast I want to go. If I decide to stick to like 90 k's an hour and the wind's not too bad, I can get 14. But if I'm in a hurry and I'm up there at 100 k's an hour towing, especially with a headwind, it's very easy to get over 20 litres per 100 k. But when not towing, I'm averaging between 10 to 14 litres 100 k's. Once again, it depends a lot on my driving style, on how fast I'm driving, and also how much weight I've got in the ute. Now, when I bought the ute, I opted to get a alloy bull bar, the snorkel, and a tow bar from the factory. And I'm going to discuss what I think and what I get them again in this section. So with the bull bar, the reason I went with an alloy bull bar is purely to save weight. On my last ute, I had a steel bull bar with the winch, extra 150 kilos I was lugging around and not really using it. So I took the gamble and went with the alloy bull bar, sacrificed the impact protection and sacrificed having a winch, which I found I haven't really missed yet. What I think of the bull bar is, well, I really think it's more of a glorified nudge bar. I wouldn't trust it to hit a bull, but you know, hitting a roo and stuff at small speeds is probably going to be okay. Probably get me to the town to fix it, but I really don't think it's going to provide much impact protection when it comes to a high-speed collision. With the snorkel, apparently it's not actually airtight, which I didn't know at the time of getting it. It is more of a raised air intake, which is okay because I don't really plan to do any deep water crossings. Once again, except for that time where I got bogged and got water in the cabin, but let's leave that for another day. So if you don't really want a bull bar for the sake of a winch, the alloy bull bar is probably going to be okay for you. Personally, after I've had it, I think that if I had my time again, especially for the cost they're charging for it, I would probably opt to just to get a standard steel bull bar like an ARB or a TJM or something like that. And as far as snorkels goes, after having this one, once again, I would opt to just go for a Safari. I've had like 4 Safari snorkels before and they've been really good, so once again I would probably just go for one of them again. As far as a factory tow bar goes, well, it's just a tow bar is going to be alright, except with the factory tow bar it is a little bit low, so I had the tub on there when I got it, that's why I got this tow bar. But if I was to do it again, if I had more time to properly do it, I would get the tray first and then get a much higher setup tow bar. As far as problems go, I've only really had that slight issue with the Apple CarPlay not connecting, and once again, since I switched to a genuine cable and I started plugging the phone in before I turned the car on, it's actually been okay for me. My cable once again is starting to get a bit dodgy, and every now and then when the phone gets bumped around it might disconnect, but that's, I think, comes down to the cable itself. Mechanically for me it's been just perfect, no problems at all. I know other guys who have had issues with the intercooler pipe splitting, but I haven't come across that problem myself yet, so I can't really comment on that too much. But being Mitsubishi, I know that they're really good with warranty and honouring their warranties. Now, some thoughts that I think will make the next Triton a lot better is just to stretch the wheelbase out. You know, 150, 200, 300 mil would make it so much better, because it is a ute. Most of the weight goes in the tray, and having that, pretty much all of that weight over the axle, like on the behind the axle, it's just asking for trouble really. I know they've straightened the chassis and they don't have as much problems with bending the chassis, but being a ute, we really need that rear wheel to go under the tray a bit more. Apart from that, a little bit more rear axle weight capacity and a little bit higher GVM from the factory would make it so much more usable as a ute. You can load it up and have everyone in there like it's supposed to be. Now, would I buy another one? 100% yes, definitely. I love this ute, it is so awesome. I love having that Super Select in there, but when you're towing, just makes it a little bit easier to take off and a bit more traction. When you get a downpour, it's easy to chuck it in 4-wheel 4 high. So if you guys don't know, they have a Super Select, which means you can actually have it in 4-wheel drive mode on a sealed road, unlike most or any other ute that I know of. So guys, that concludes the video. I hope you got something out of this. If you're looking to buy one of these, either brand new or second hand, I can highly recommend them. I love it. I would definitely get another one myself, like I said. And that's it. If you guys enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you want to see where this ute has been, check out our channel. We've got heaps of videos up there of this ute in action all around Australia. Thank you very much. I'll catch you in the next one.